I just wanted to say hey to the ladies in the house, right? It's ladies' night. Woo! All righty. Well, today in Spain, thousands of people are running with the bulls. For many of them, it's their first and last time. One man said he was doing it because it's a risk, it's a challenge, and it's wonderful. So let's break this down. You have someone who's gone to a foreign country, who's going to maybe possibly be gored in the back with zero experience, and who's willingly jeopardizing their health. Now, why would they do that? Does it take doing something radical to feel alive again? Yes, it does take doing something you've never done to get something you've never had, and that something doesn't come easily. Now, like those who run with the bulls, I too was stabbed in the back. Well, figuratively, and faced a bunch of bull when I tried out to be a professional cheerleader. Now, who here remembers in 1984, the Colts are stolen in the middle of the night from Baltimore and arrive in Indianapolis? Yeah? Yeah. Well, I was studying at Butler then, but didn't have a clear direction for my life. So 2 years later, when I learned that the Colts were having cheerleader tryouts, I figured that sounded exciting. And since I had taken tap dancing lessons when I was a kid, I figured I was a shoo-in. So I was full of youthful ignorance. Oh, to be politically correct, I'll call it youthful bliss. You know, it's like being a millennial before millennial was a thing. So armed with youthful bliss, I'm at tryouts with 800 other girls as we line the entire stadium. We learn a routine, and somehow my shuffle, shuffle ball change from tap was all I needed to make the cut that day to 400 girls. So it's April, and the woman who determines our fate, her name's Ms. I won't say her full name if you get my drift. So she lays down the law, and she says, come back for practices for no pay 3 times a week, including Saturdays, 3 hours at a time. And on Wednesdays, you'll jump on the scale for weigh-in. And if your number's on the door, well, just go home. Now, have you ever found yourself like those who run with the bulls and realized that you're in the middle of a situation and thought, what have I gotten myself into? Youthful bliss now meets fight or flight. You know those voices in your head? Fight says, you can do it. But flight is much louder and says, really? I mean, everyone's better than you. Now, meanwhile, I'm interning during the day for no pay, dancing 3 times a week for no pay, and working in a bingo hall late at night for tips. I should be living in fear with how I'm going to pay the bills, but somehow this unknown territory feels like a rite of passage, a test to determine, am I worthy enough to achieve just what's out of reach? Well, these dance practices are definitely a stretch, and I am sweating in places I didn't know a girl would sweat. And is this normal? I have half-moon watermarks under my bra line. I mean, I didn't know that happened. And every Wednesday, as promised, is weigh-in day, and a bunch of numbers on the door. So I risk eating as little as possible and challenge myself to sit in the sauna to melt off what I can. And something wonderful is happening when I jump on the scale. I'm gaining a renewed sense of self to keep going just enough ahead of the bull. And this keeps going for weeks. The sweating, barely eating, working late. And then it happens. I plateau at 112 pounds. Oh no, my God, they wonder what is wrong with me. They think I'm cheating. I contemplate removing a rib. But somehow, it's August. We started in April. It's now August, and there are only 36 of us. Soon, I'll earn $50 a game. It's Wednesday, 1 week before the pregame, and I run up to the door for practice, and there are 4 numbers on the door. And there it is, my number. After 5 months, I'm still a number? Not Cheryl, just a number. A number no longer needed, no longer wanted. And I'm fired before even hired. And I feel the bull's horn pierce straight through my back. And I am down for the count, but not out of fight. I sashay over to Miss and muster up, "Why?" And she glances at me and says, "You can't eat cake," and walks away. And I thought, what? I haven't eaten cake in months. I haven't eaten barely anything in months. Have you ever hungered for something so badly you can taste it and then it just vanishes? See, this isn't about cheerleading. It's about putting yourself out there, finding something that excites you to launch you to the next level. So I took risks and challenged myself. So where is this wonderful? I felt lost. And I actually resorted to exercising and jogging on my own, searching for what am I doing with my life when I stumble on this. I literally stumble to the ground, reflecting on how this was going to change my life. But I'm sitting there on the ground and realize, as I start to stand up, you know what? The secret to success is you have to be your own biggest cheerleader. A positive attitude is great, but it must be partnered with persistence. So armed with persistence to give it a go again, I learned that the Pacers are having cheerleader tryouts. So armed with that persistence, I now somehow weigh 108, the rib still intact. Well, Pacer tryouts take only 2 days, and they announced the list right then. And this time, I made the cut. Referred to, thank you, by name, they say, "Cheryl, come back for practices for no pay 3 times a week, including Saturdays at 3 hours at a time." And the Pacers pay $25 a game with taxes taken out. I'm thrilled. Youthful bliss is back in the house, baby. So I go home and totally neglect persistence, and I eat and eat. And I show back up to rehearsal looking like this in their eyes. Now, thinking I could hide those extra pounds in my 80s leg warmers, our Pacer leader pulls me aside and says in a gentler voice, "Cheryl, I don't know what happened to you, but you can't come back unless you lose the weight. You have 2 weeks." Well, I don't think they ever expected to see me again. But since I had youthful bliss and persistence, I sashay back into rehearsal 2 weeks later, lighter, and no one says anything. So I stay and dance the whole season, where I discover cheerleaders sit on the floor, a danger zone of risk, of nearly being stomped on by giants. And the players yell to one another and sometimes cuss. I had no idea. And when they stop short to make a basket, they stop, but their sweat keeps coming. We'd call it getting slimed. And we got slimed by some of the greatest who ever worked their magic, like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan. Just think if I had quit. Are you almost quitting something that just needs persistence? Well, see, I only needed 1 season of cheering to feel alive again. All right, who am I kidding? I just wanted to eat again. But it took this experience of facing rejection and being told that I wasn't worthy and persisting anyway that launched me to the next level and gave me the courage to be a TV news reporter, live in New York City, interview celebrities like Howard Stern, and create my women's empowerment group, Successful Women Made Here, so that I could also help others see the possibilities and remove their limiting beliefs. It does take risks and challenges, but they open the door to your wonderful. I found wonderful, and you can too. And in fact, you can have your cake and eat it too.